welcome Lisa Simpson to...
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Now, before introducing my own point, and that is the point about how we're going to have pressure to improve working conditions in the healthcare system, I'm just going to go into a little bit of clash. Now, they talked about this two-tier system and how there would be this basic level. However, we're going to say that if you put in this supposed two-tier system, you're just going to be giving an excuse to the government to not provide certain services, and you're in fact going to be giving them the excuse. You're going to be giving them justification for being inefficient. No, thank you, not at this time. So we're going to say that, in fact, if you try and implement this two-tier system, you will be lowering the quality of the public healthcare system. And that's what my partner talked about in her point, which is really how we're improving the public healthcare system if we implement this resolution. Now, they also talked about this idea of how competition improves service. Yes?
But in the current situation with zero competition, how can there be a drive for increased efficiency?
We would say that even in the current system, if you have public and private, there really isn't that much competition because the poor, you're not competing for the poor's market share. The poor people they still only have one option. They don't have this option of private healthcare. So we can see that the private system and public system don't have to compete for that. However, and this is what my partner talked about, if we see all the affluent people, all the people with a lot of power in society, if we see them putting their influence behind the public healthcare system, because this is now the only option for them, and therefore they have a vested interest in improving it, that is when we will see a lot of improvement, because it is these affluent people that have true power in society. No, thank you. Continuing on with clashing about the idea of how competition improves service. They talked about this market share, but again, when you have a public market, when you have the government providing public health care, they're not really getting paid to provide this service. They get taxpayers' money and then they provide the service, but when people go to the doctor, they're not paying the doctor. That's really the entire point of the public health care system. So we can see that when people don't pay, I'll take you in a moment, when people don't pay for a service, really this isn't a true competition because the government isn't taking in profit. Yes?
Yes, people don't pay their doctors, but doesn't that make it so there's no incentive for the doctor to improve their service and make it more efficient and cheaper? Not cheaper, but better.
This could be true at some points. However, there are regulations making sure that doctors do their job. Doctors have a vested interest in doing their job well. And as my partner has talked about a lot, we're really going to be seeing improvements in the public healthcare system if we were to implement this resolution. We can also see that things like losing the best doctors are also things that hurt the public healthcare system. So we want to get rid of that happening. They also talked about the idea of easing strain on the government. Won't you only be easing the strain on the government if people prefer the private system, meaning that the public system is more inefficient? So basically we're saying we want to raise everybody to this level of supposedly the private system, and because we want to provide this equality. No, thank you. So now I'm going to move into my point, which is really about the pressure to improve working conditions. Now, my partner talked about forcing improvements in the patient care because they're having affluent members of society fighting to improve conditions and having power. We're going to say that we're going to force improvement for working conditions for doctors and nurses. Because historically, we've had, if a nurse is dissatisfied, say in the US in the public sector, they can maybe move to the private sector. Now, these people, no thank you, only have the option of quitting, staying and doing nothing, or protesting using methods such as unions, such as talking to their employers, such as recruiting citizens, talking to the media, things like that. So we can see if, no thank you, there's pressure from all the nurses and all the doctors concentrated, no thank you, if there aren't enough beds, if there isn't enough good equipment, if there's staff shortages, we can see that if everybody is protesting and they're all concentrated on protesting in this public sector, we can bring about change, and we will indeed find better working conditions. And there are many benefits for better working conditions. You'll find more workers attracted to the workforce, improving the system, and you'll find better care in general when you have happy workers. So it is because the reasons that my partner talked about, because we're forcing improvement in the public system. Because healthcare is indeed a basic right, and everybody does, in fact, have the right to the same amount of care. And because we need to pressure to improve working conditions of those in the public healthcare system, that this resolution must pass.